Gal and Leskala were the champions of their respective classes last season, and while both have proven quick, the level of talent in the series has continued to climb. But all will be tested right off the bat with one of iRacing's most punishing circuits facing them down. Let's see who steps up as we get ready to watch round one of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The street circuit at Belle Isle in Detroit is one of the more unique racing venues in the world. To learn a little bit more about it, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to the Belle Isle Street Circuit. Situated in a beautiful park on Belle Isle itself, it rests in the Detroit River, sandwiched between the Motor City and Canada. With it being in the far north of the Midwestern United States, as you'd expect, harsh winters make this a bone-jarringly bumpy track. It's most known for IndyCar's yearly visit, but has also seen IMSA hold rounds here lately. The 14 narrow corners only add up to a mere 2.3 miles in length, but it can tend to feel like a lot more just from the sheer stress of keeping your car out of the walls. Runoff is non-existent in the majority of corners, so mistakes tend to be punished with race-ending damage. The dangers include the tight and twisty fountain section with its rapid-fire set of bends, and the frightening turns 12 and 13, which end the lap with two swift kinks. However, the most notorious spot on the track is the exit of Turn 2, made famous by collecting the Corvette pace car into its hungry walls one year. The first two turns are a quick chicane, so the extreme change of direction, plus the rise in the track as it crosses over a creek, means grip and balance can disappear in an instant. While the setup of the car can sometimes help lessen the annoyance of the bumps a little, what this place all comes down to is driver skill and daring. Precision will pay off with the close proximity of the barriers. While it isn't a stroll in the park for drivers, fans get to enjoy the beauty of the scenery all while watching some of the most thrilling racing an American street course has to offer. Well, Nick, this is going to be an exciting first round. This is quite a track to pit the drivers against right away.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's not a track that we see pop up on the schedule very often, and a lot of drivers tend to try to stay away from it, as we see today even here in Detroit, Michigan, downtown, right on Belle Isle, the island that separates Detroit from Canada. 14 turns on this temporary street course. It's a pretty quick track around here. It'll only take you about a minute and a half to get around here, 2.3 miles, but it is over the course of 14 turns. Now, just like most street courses, a lot of those turns come at, like you can see there on the map, just kind of like those abrupt 90-degree turns, so you got to be really careful. And we see people in IndyCar and real-world IMSA really struggle here on this track, especially now you throw in the fact that it is multi-class. We always say, Joe, that you got to keep your head on a swivel. Here, you've got to be really careful because a lot of those 90-degree turns, you don't get a lot of grip on the outside if you're a Nissan trying to get around a GTO car. Real life IMSA, they only get to bring 2 or 3 classes here because the track gets so packed today. About 30 cars out there today, and with these bumps that are able to throw the cars, you have no idea what's coming in the next 40 minutes.
No kidding. Neither we nor the drivers honestly have any idea how this is going to play out. Although we've seen it a few times, it is, let's say, chaos out there. But I'm sure they'll be able to handle it just like they handled last season, with the championship going to Alex Gal in the end in the prototypes by nearly a win's worth of points over Matthias Hovdal in the end. Heitor Sintez Guindo all the way up to third. He has continued to improve. He showed consistency, just maybe needs a little bit more pace to try and get some better results along the way. Sean Campbell has stormed in and shown people how it's done. We'll see if he returns this season to try and take a full championship, with Laust Olsen continuing to show that he is a much improved driver with a top 5. Nick, what about the GTO standings?
Yeah, big implications coming in from last season. You see Leskala taking the crown there by a pretty big gap over Reed Miller, Hugh Haycox, Niels Kor, and Lubanow down in the top 5. So all of these guys, many of them veterans of the series, they are coming back. And like you said, Detroit is a brand new track to start this start the season at. Not brand new, but it's a wild one to start the season at, that they are really going to have to start themselves maybe on an uphill climb here to start the next season.
No kidding. If you want to start on a good note, you're going to have a difficult day of doing that. Speaking of today's difficult day, let's take a look at the race details. And we are in round one, as we mentioned. It's a 40-minute sprint race, just to add to the insanity that they have no pit stops. So you've got to be flat out as hard as you can through this one. Open setup series, and they have no fast repair. All that damage we've been talking about, you're going to have to come in and get it repaired yourself and give away time. You can't just hop in a spare car. They also have an incident limit. However, if you can reach 17 incidents and have a car that is still running well, I think you deserve to try and get to the finish, but you will have to do it with a stop-go or a drive-through penalty. And at 25, you're actually going to be disqualified and won't be allowed to finish the race. We're just getting a few of our drivers across the line with our first laps, and look at this. We have an old familiar name back, Fabian Gerber, on the provisional pole, and Sean Campbell is looking to try and challenge him. However, Sean down 7/10. That tells you how fast Fabian is.
Yeah, that's a big gap. Thankfully, he's got some time to put in some more laps here. He should be able to click off a few more.
Looks like Leskala gets a 1:26.7 on his first lap, and it's a full 1.1 seconds ahead of Mukanos. We saw that a lot last season, where he had an impressive gap over the rest of the field in just one lap raw pace, and then proved it to be more than a fluke in the race itself, continuing to pull away as we watch Trangarade. And looks like his first lap good enough for fourth place. Wonder if we could look to Fabian Gerber, who's getting ready to finish his second one.
Looks like Gerber's picked up a bit of damage somewhere, so that just shows you just how much he's pushing it here in qualifying to get a good time.
I hope it's not from hitting a wall, because that will unfortunately discount his time, and it was.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's not going to be able to improve, and Campbell isn't either. Something happened to Campbell. I didn't see what, but he's grayed out, so he's not going to complete that second lap. Nick Schneider seems the next likely to try and overtake him. Wow. Crazy developments here in the very first qualifying session. Pablo Suarez just trying to get a first lap in, as his first one didn't count. Second lap, a 1:18.6. That's only good enough for 13th, unfortunately.
And Schneider just hit the wall too a couple times. So I don't think this lap's going to count for him either.
Down to the GTOs. We're still waiting for Phil Lake and Ian Haycox to set times. In fact, I think Phil just started his first flyer. Will he have enough time for both of them is the question then. Krejcik, good enough for 14th on his first lap with 3 minutes left to go. Trangarade is coming across for his second, sits in fifth position, and it's going to be bumped to 1:27.4. That's the front row. As he unfortunately bangs the wall a little bit as he takes it into the first corner. Ian Haycox now. His first lap didn't count. He comes through 12 and 13, trying to tiptoe around these last two braking zones. Let's see if this one will set. So he comes down to the line, and it's a 28.9. Ooh, down in seventh for him.
And Phil Lake's got the same problem. He touched the wall, so I don't know if this one's going to count for him.
Joseph Mudrack, his second lap, an improvement to an 18.041, so half a tenth faster. I don't believe he improved his position because of that one. And who else do we have getting to set a lap? This is Martin Krejcik, and he goes up to 12th place. A nice run from him. Phil Lake's first lap, a 27.5. That will get him into third, and he is a little bit over 8/10 here behind Leskala still. Nobody able to get anywhere within range of our champion.
Yeah, that was a good lap by Philip Lake, and he's on a second one now. But like you said, time's running out, so if you haven't gotten that second one in, you're going to want to hustle.
Trangarade already having taken his 2 laps, is just practicing from here. I think Nick Schneider, yeah, he's on a flyer. He sits in fourth. Oh, but he's unfortunately going to abandon it. Looks like he must have touched the wall somewhere, just not happy with the pace of it. So I think Mudrack also completed his 2 laps. That brings us to John Keefe and the Hoosier native. Oh, I think he just brushed the wall too.
Yeah, and he didn't set a time on his first lap either, so this is going to be really bad news for John Keefe.
Yep,
that one did not count, yeah.
Yeah, going to be a rough day for John, starting from the very back of his pack, except for a couple others that did not set a time. Phil Lake down through the last few corners, trying to see if he can get onto the front row. Maybe if he's got a much better lap than the first one, he could even snatch pole from Leskala, but very few have been able to do that last season. Has he come back a new man? He comes to the line, and it's going to be a 27.6. That's a 10th slower. He will not improve.
Still good starting position for him. I know he's 8/10 behind Leskala, but starting on the second row, that's really going to help, especially in the opening laps.
Qualifying session now ticks over to gridding, which means we are ready to run through our starting order. And up on the pole, it is Fabian Gerber returning, showing he's not lost an ounce of speed. Sean Campbell will be behind him. Can he go quicker here in the race compared to qualifying and challenge? Togo Hisada will start in 3rd. Great improvement for Togo. Nicholas Schneider will be P4 and Timo Toika in 5th. And it's Lars Stolzen, P6. Excellent qualifying for the 15 car, as Robert Plumley will be on the next row on the inside with Mark Salah in the 8th position. 8-tour Sintez Guindo in 9th will be flanked by Douglas Cloud. Then you've got Joseph Mudrack on the start of the next slide. He'll have Martin Krejcik to his outside. Mike Reuter starts 13th and Pablo Suarez 14th. Guillaume de Otero starts in 15th. John Cope 16th, and Kyle Graham was the last one to set a time in 17th position. John Keefe, Nicholas Rage, Gary DeMoss, and Patrick Byrne will start from the back of the prototypes.
Only 11 Audis in this race for the GTO class, and it's last year's champion, Yuko Leskala, taking that momentum. He's going to be on the pole by 0.7 of a second over Ove Trangrade. He's going to be up kitty corner to Phil Lake and Nick Mukanos, who start in row 2. Row 3 goes to Devin Donaghy and Topi Kortaniemi. Jamie Hamill-Smith and Ian Haycox are going to be right behind, with the last 3 drivers being Mark Oye, Hideki Koivisto, and Mika Tupola, rounding out the 32 cars at Belle Isle today.
Just waiting for a few more to line up, then we should be going on our very short pace lap. It's cool conditions with it being early in the morning here on Belle Isle. Only 69 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface and very little wind, thankfully. Upsides and downsides, Nick. I guess they won't be slipping and sliding too much, but they got to get the tires up to temperature first.
Yeah, I don't know if any temperature would make much of a difference here at the very beginning of the race, especially when you're going to have all that traffic within your class. And then watch, it's going to take just a couple of laps for those GTPs to catch up to the GTOs, because around the corners, they're going to be a whole lot slower than those Nissan prototypes. So that's, those Nissans that are battling for the lead, battling for position, they're going to be catching some battles of their own. And of course, we see that at all sorts of tracks on the calendar in this series, but here at Detroit, it is just a completely different ball game.
All right, Porsche pace car is now heading into pit lane. Gerber has control of the fields. He goes immediately. Green flag is out for the first round of the season in the Kamel GT series. Down into the first corner. Great run by Hisada. Overtaking Nick Schneider, almost had contact there with Toika, and once again nearly coming together. It looks like we're all past the second turn, though. Let's go to the GTOs.
Leskala got on the loud pedal as soon as that green flag flew, and then it was side by side behind them. Phil Lake and Ove Trangrade still side by side trying to fight it out for second.
Oh, and John Keefe made some contact with Pablo Suarez. He got turned around. He's in a bad spot. He's trying to stay put. Oh, no, he's going to take a tow. He saw the field coming. You could see everybody at the front trying to take evasive action.
Yeah, very smart move from him, because that was a side-by-side battle, a couple of rows deep that he was coming up on.
Yeah, probably the best decision he could have made in that situation. Hopefully we'll see him back out in the race, as it wasn't a hard hit. Just couldn't really recover the car with where he sat as our leader. Up at the front, Fabian Gerber ahead of Sean Campbell coming out of the fountain section. Sean getting very close to that exit wall.
see these Nissans, they got to be careful over the curbs as well. A lot of tracks, you're going to want to hook them just a little bit. We know these cars are fragile over them to begin with, but then if you get shot outside and these walls come up on you in a hurry.
Posada showed up, I want to say, once last season at the very last round, and he's now running on the podium ahead of a known fast Finn, Teemu Toika. So we'll see if he can hold this up over the course of the race. Once they hit traffic, that'll be a completely different story as well. But for now, I have to say I'm quite impressed with the number 12.
Yeah, it looked like Toika was closing in there. He might just be waiting for a good passing opportunity.
Had an incident. The 26, Sola, looks like Cloud, Reuter also involved. In fact, they're wrecking again into turn 4. Let's take a look. This started in 3. Ooh, one spinning. Is this Cloud?
It's Sola.
It's Sola.
He went around by himself originally.
Yeah, the other two just kind of got tangled in it, and then they continued to mess each other up. We didn't see it on the camera shot, but in the very next corner, unfortunately tipped one another. They got it going just as the GTOs were coming through. Our leader now up to 0.8 of a second over Sean Campbell. Meanwhile, it's quite a bigger gap down in the GTOs because Leskala has some GTP traffic in between himself and Lake.
He has, but even without that traffic, that gap had opened up pretty significantly in the first couple of laps. It's because Phil Lake was busy trying to get around train grade. He did get that pass done, so Phil Lake rides in second. We'll have to see if the number 3 can close in on Yuko.
Let's see, having to let those spinning GTPs by. Now they can go back to enjoying their race for at least 2 or 3 more laps. And then, unfortunately, they're going to have a conveyor belts of GTPs just coming by constantly. We're on board with Lake looking back at Trangarade down towards turn 3. All of them navigating it successfully. They have stretched away from everybody else as well. Jamie Hamill-Smith down in 4th doesn't seem to be able to hang.
No, I think this podium is in a class of their own, and Hamill-Smith has got some traffic behind him. That's a 4-car train he's the head of.
Yeah, Courtney coming over from the Lotus 49s earlier this morning. Ian Haycock's in there, and Marc Ollier is amongst them. This is a fight for 4th position, effectively, in those GTOs. Boy, a lot of curb there coming into the fountain section from Phil Lake, so he's not afraid of him. We're only 5 minutes into this event as well. And you can see them all nose to tail coming out of the fountain section into the last few corners with the morning sun shining off that old sheet metal.
The thing I will say is that now that Phil Lake is in second place, it doesn't look like Leskala is pulling a massive gap on him every single lap. I think Lake is maybe not closing in on him, but it looks like he's able to keep him right there, pacing him.
But, you know, that almost might be key today, I would think, Nick. Once the traffic starts to hit them, if he can stay within range, maybe he could pounce when it hits.
Yeah, I mean, on pure pace, it looks like they're just about equal. Maybe a slight advantage to Leskala, which is representative of qualifying, of course. But once that traffic hits, you're right, Joe, that's going to be, I mean, a couple of seconds can go away in a heartbeat.
Bad news for fans of Laust Olsen. Don't need to go to it, but he outbraked himself into the fountain and slammed into the tire barrier. He took a tow. We're going to look at that class, though. The GTPs, Fabian Gerber, now up to 2 seconds ahead of Sean Campbell. So as good as Sean was up against the likes of Gal and some of the other fast names, Gerber coming back has shown why he has won so many championships. And he's coming upon traffic. This looks like Donaghy in front of him.
Yep, Donaghy's at the tail end of the field for the GTOs, and he just got into the wall there a little bit. That was a scary moment.
See him just clip it as one gets through, but I don't think 2. Oh, wow, this is going to be bad for Sean. He's just going to have to wait so patiently here.
That's good news for Fabian.
He's thinking about it. Oh, okay, he's going to get through. Looks like he was helped out a little bit. Devin saw him. Knew he was in a fight for the lead and let him pass. And another one we don't need to go to, Robert Plumley was in the runoff at turn 3 and then took a toe. He didn't hit anything, so I'm not entirely sure what happened to him. As we take a look back at the battle for 5th, and I believe Ian Haycox has recently overtaken Cortiniemi because they were switched around, were they not?
I think you're right. And it looks like Cortiniemi has picked up a bit of right side damage.
Come back to check and see if I can figure out where this around here. Yeah. Oh, I don't think we'll be able to get a replay because it was almost more than a lap ago. Cortiniemi looks like he missed his shifts, and no, he overcooked it into turn 5, it appears, and Haycox pounced. So won't be able to see it, but it looks like Haycox taking advantage of others' mistakes, which will be a valuable asset here today.
This is still a 4-car train led by Hamel Smith, and this is going to be a headache when Fabian Gerber and the rest of the GTPs catch up to him.
Which is going to be probably within the next lap. He's in the fountain section right now.
Visto is the last one of this train. He's the next one for Gerber to tick off.
We right on board with Fabian now. This is just behind Visto, who's not exactly pulling over for him. He's just running his racing line. It's up to Gerber to find his way past at a convenient and safe point, which is right there, and now he is on his way at about 2.5 seconds ahead of Sean Campbell.
Now I should say is the 4-car train that he's coming up on, Mark Oye being at the end of that.
Ooh, we had a pass for 3rd. Isada just lost it to Toika, and this was into turn 1. Not an easy place to get it done. Let's see if we can get a replay of the 12 and the 5. Brilliant move from the Finn. That's a
gutsy move too. Turn 1, like you said, not a place we see very commonly here at this track. It's a bit frightening, and especially look at that. Look at how defensive he was being on the inside.
Slipped it in, and that gets him up on the podium. He's not under attack when we come back live here. It's about half a second between them, and they are bringing in Nick Schneider as well. So we got a 3-way battle for the last step on the podium. Watching from the number 6. Once again, we're getting a lot of views of the rear bumper of Visto here today, but he's been doing it just right, not really getting in anybody's way, just doing his own thing, and that held up Nick quite a bit. It's up to 1.8 seconds behind Hisada.
Looks like Fabian Gerber making great time of this traffic in the GTOs. Sean Campbell has closed in a little bit, but not too much. Not as much as he could have with all this traffic.
That didn't go well for Hamel Smith. He had a very shallow line coming off of turn 2. Although, looks like that was already paid back to Ian Haycox. Must have had bad traffic in there as well with the leaders going by because he was nowhere near him. Gerber now getting close to our leaders. I believe, Trangrade's the next one up the road. Ooh, and Trangrade's going to get caught by Gerber in the fountain section. Will this return all that time back to Sean Campbell?
And not much place here for Gerber to go. Trying to make it easy, but...
Looking left and looking right, but Ove is in a race of his own. He's not really interested in moving out of the way. He's going to have to force the issue. He's able to sneak by cleanly. Gerber passed, but the gap is gone. Campbell is there, and he's going to catch him at a nicer spot. It is down to 0.7 of a second, 0.9.
So next up is Phil Lake for him, and he's already popped by him on the outside there. That's going to keep Campbell behind, but he should be able to make quick use of him here. Yep, gets around him.
Campbell catching them at the exits a lot more than Gerber is on the entries. One more for Fabian to have gotten through a full time. Lescala, which means it's going to be tight on whether they go by the entire GTO field 3 or 4 times.
And with so many prototypes here, you're also going to have lap traffic within your own class. But look at how close Campbell is here on the inside of Lescala.
Man, he had a great run utilizing that traffic that plugged up the Austrian down into the fountain section. He doesn't dare try and send a flyer in yet. It's still early in this race. Let's see, how long do they have? They have a fair bit before they get back around to the traffic. So now it is mano a mano, just the two of them facing off at the front of the field. It's already 3.5 seconds ahead of Toyka. They've had a much better time going by all of the Audis. We ride on board with Sean. You can see how bumpy it is with how much he's having to work the wheel.
Yeah, you would think based off of their qualifying times and practice speeds that this would be where Gerber would be able to pull that gap back. But now that Campbell's got him in sights, you never know.
Yeah, we'll watch those lap times closely. Drivers do have to manage a few new things now in these past couple seasons. The brakes do go away just like the cars did back in this era. And of course, the tires have long been a talking point in this series, having to make sure that they treat them well. Ooh, this is not looking good already. Campbell up to 1.1 seconds. That's 0.2 down in half a lap.
Yeah, I think Campbell's only hope here is the fact that he has been maneuvering through traffic a little bit better than Gerber, but there are only 11 Audis out there, so I don't want to say traffic will be few and far between here because we are at Detroit. You'll see it quite a bit, but he's going to have to really work for it when they do get into traffic.
Well, Hasada, who we were watching before, lost third and now might lose fourth too because Nick Schneider is right there. And for some reason, John Keefe has been towed to the pits. I'll try and dig that up and see if we could figure out what forced that as we ride on board Nick Schneider.
Looks like John Keefe just wrecked by himself.
Yeah, I think he spun up the tires through one of the more technical portions of the track, hit the wall. Figured it wasn't worth trying to limp that thing around. On board with Nick Schneider. Now 7/10 behind. He was as close as 3/10 up underneath the rear wing of the 12. Do they have any more traffic? No more traffic in front of them.
Really good job by Schneider there under braking. That's where he's gaining all his time right now on Hisada.
Onto the back stretch. Oh, and a lot of wheel spin out of the 6th, though. He lost some time. And Hisada is just going to streak away as they head towards the braking in the fountain section. Oh, but he's way too hot into there, and that gives it right back.
Schneider going to try to set up a good run here. 12, 13, and 14. That's a great place to make a run.
Looks like there's a tiny bit of damage on the rear left of Hisada's car as well.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's just the bumps of this place rattling this car.
Bit of damage on both of those cars.
Messed up Dougie's 007 cam. It's now kind of 006.5.
A couple more bumps and that camera's going to fly right out of there.
But as much as Nick gained on Hisada's overrun into the fountain section, it looks like it's gone away a little bit. Togo, pretty quick when he's not making mistakes. We're gonna leave this for just a moment. Take a look at 8th position. This time, Koivisto not with lapping traffic, but with a fight for position. Nick Mukanos, who fell from 4th at the start, down to 9th position now.
And they have a GTP behind him. That's Mark Solat, who spun early in the race, and now he's trying to fight his way back through traffic. Should be able to get him on the inside. Oh, but he's only going to get Mukanos. He can't quite get past Koivisto.
And he's going to have to wait patiently. Now he's able to easily get past as Koivisto pulls off to the side. Oh, and Mukanos is going to go through. Almost looked like Hideki maybe gave it up.
Yeah, it looked like it. Got off the gas really nicely there, and one way or the other, Mukanos has taken that spot.
So Nick up to 8th. He's got about 13 seconds to get to Mark Ollier, who is in the 7th position right now. We're getting close to the halfway point already, so he's not going to have a whole lot of time to do it. This man, though, would love it to be fully done and not just halfway. Yuko Leskala continuing to lead, this time by about 3.5 seconds over Phil Lake. Mistakes can be so easily race ending here that I don't think anything can be counted until we got some chickens hatched.
Yeah, he's looking pretty comfortable as you could probably be around here.
Just letting the lapper of Krejcik past. Unfortunately for Martin, this is a horrible place to try and go by lap traffic through 4, 5, and 6. Now onto the backstretch. Finally, he should be able to make it happen. There he goes. So Krejcik still trying to chase down Joseph Mudrack on quite a good run today. Joseph from 11th up to 7th. Fortunately, a bit of no man's land. Of course, if ever there was a track where you could focus on your own race, I'd want it to be this one, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. That's one that his car looks pretty clean now, and he's had, like you said, a very good run. But it is Belle Isle, and we're only about halfway through. So
oh, he's got a fair bit of damage on the left-hand side. Yeah,
he's fairly. Oh, okay. I didn't see that angle.
yeah. So something's happened to him along the way that unfortunately has made that not spec condition.
But he's going fast, so hey.
He is. That's all that counts. So we come back to that fight between Hesada and Schneider. Nick is making life hard for the number 12. It's been basically riding behind him for a number of laps now. Been threatening, just not able to make the pass.
It took Teemu Toika quite a while to get around Hesada as well, so if it takes Teemu a while, you know, Togo might be one of those drivers that's, especially with this track combination, just might be very hard to pass.
The leaders got close again. Campbell was right on top of him for a brief moment, and I think he must have had a horrible run through 1 and 2. Can we get a replay on board Campbell through the first 2 corners? Because this must have been scary for him to lose more than half a second's worth. We'll need to watch for a little bit here. This is through the first 2 turns. I wonder if they were brought close by this traffic.
I think so, and then I think Gerber was just able to open it up again. Because Campbell doesn't seem to do too much wrong here. He has a bit of an awkward entrance to that corner.
Here it is. This is going to be the moment. He's right up with him. Not close enough to pass. Ooh. He got very close to that wall.
Very close.
And I believe Nick Schneider finally got by Hesada.
He did, yes.
With a 3-wide move.
This was with, traffic from both classes.
John Cope, yeah.
John Cope was trying to get around, that's Devin Donaghy. Car from each class there, and got by on the inside of Cope.
Yeah, looks like he almost got it. This was out of turn 6, down into turn 7. You can see he's already to his inside, having been slowed up, and then out breaks him down into 7. Hesada sees the writing on the wall. He's going to finally give it up, settle for 5th. Finally getting a few position changes here with 20 minutes left to go. Not so many in the GTOs, though. That's stayed quite stationary today, I have to say. Leskala ahead of Lake, ahead of Trangerade, has not changed since very early in the race. But Hamill Smith, Haycox, and Cortiniemi have switched around a little bit here. And in fact, they might switch again as they deal with Toika, who splits them temporarily.
And Ian Haycox, he had to spend quite a bit of time to get around Cortiniemi as well. So Haycox definitely on his way up here. I think he's one of the faster cars on track right now in this class. He just hasn't found a great time to get around Jamie Hamill-Smith.
It looks like track position is king today. It's those who get close, unless they get some sort of mistake, just can't seem to make it stick. Still trails behind the number 19 down into turn 3. They're going to have, looks like Nick Schneider approaching behind them. He's going to get in the way of Cortiemi, unfortunately for Topi.
See where Nick Schneider goes here. He's not going to have...
Going to get a good spot here, honestly.
Yeah, he will. Ooh, little moment there because Haycox went to the inside.
And now he's through safely. So able to leave them be. Can't say the same for Hisada, who's going to catch them in the fountain section.
Yeah, and that's where I thought that Schneider was going to catch him, but he got by around just before that. Look at Hisada on the outside. Oh, really deep underneath.
Oh, no. And that's going to slow up Hamill-Smith. There goes Haycox and Cortiniemi trying to go through as well. Down into the double right-hander of 12 and 13 and over-under. There goes Hamill-Smith.
Takes it right back. How about that from Jamie Hamill-Smith? I was going to say Cortiniemi took advantage of that nicely, but how about Hamill-Smith to grab it right back?
Fierce stuff. Love that. Let's take another look. I wondered about Hisada trying to go around the outside. It looked like it was going to surprise Hamill-Smith into that corner.
Yeah, he was fine around the outside, but it's when it comes back to that right-hander, is that turn 10 or 11 down there, he really, I mean, there's no place to go there.
Yeah, everybody's so on the limit, and it's so narrow that they wound up coming together. But gave us a brilliant battle between those two, Hamill-Smith and Cortiniemi, with Jamie still in 5th. He's actually not too far behind Haycox as well, so unless Ian really was being held up and is just going to scamper away, he could still do something with this.
Yeah, this has reeled Cortiniemi in really nicely.
Oh, it's back together again up at the very front. Gerber ahead of Campbell, but only by 0.4 of a second. He has to make a quick move going past our GTO leader, Lescala. He'll get through. Both of them get through at the last moment into turns 1 and 2.
They get a little more of a straightaway here to breathe.
Breaking down into that corner, they look like nobody's willing to give an inch, as nothing to be gained by Campbell into turn 3. But the traffic has certainly been a talking point, which we expected here at Detroit. Nicholas Rage, who failed to qualify, started from the back of the field, is in front of them. But great heads up. Look at that. Nick just pulls over and lets both of them through.
Man, we're riding on board with Campbell right now, and he is just so smooth through some of the more technical corners here. Really keeping him in reach here.
Looks like we may have had a problem for John Cope. I'm checking to see. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is worth looking at, but I can report that he hit the wall in turn 2, the inside, weirdly, and had to take a tow.
Campbell had a great run. He just brushed the wall. See that quite a bit around here, so no harm, no foul, but could have been a lot worse for Campbell.
He still lost some time. He's up to 0.9 of a second back. Good news is he doesn't have to worry about a rearward guard because Timu Toika is 8.6 seconds behind him. So unlikely for him to be up to him very quickly. Granted, traffic could always still bring him in. We've seen crazier gaps closed in. This is on board with the man who goes by Fat Timu from his fans. And a podium on his return will certainly make him happy. And not sure if that's exactly what he wanted. I'm sure he'd love more wins instead. Ooh, remember what I said, Hamill-Smith, if he's got pace to keep up with Haycox, I'd say he's got pace to keep up with Haycox. That is very close.
Sure is. These 3 cars, closest we've seen them all race. And they're all by themselves right now, which is making this a really good battle. I know that Hamill Smith is close to Haycox, but really Courtiniemi would be my concern if you're Jamie Hamill Smith right now. He is quick.
Yeah, I think he'd be right because he had a big slide there off of 13, or excuse me, no, off of 6 rather. And Courtiniemi's going to try and look up the inside, force the issue. He's given space, but he's not brave enough on the brakes. Hamill Smith will retain 5th.
That was a good look. He just couldn't quite muster up the courage to get it in there. I don't think I'd be able to either.
Yeah, I think in that case, this is definitely a discretion is the better part of valor type of track. Coming together can so easily not only take you both out, but clog the track.
And this is allowing Haycox to get away just by a couple of tenths. Got Hamill Smith caught in the mirrors right now.
13 minutes left, so there is time to try and take advantage of things from Jamie. If Topi wants to play patient, but he can't sit there forever. Mudrack and Krejcik behind them. This is for position between those two. So they're going to go by on the left-hand side. Krejcik gets both, but not quite all 3. Mudrack. Oh, looks like he's just going to be able to get by once again. Hamill Smith not getting the best of it. Around the outside, Topi Courtiniemi. Wow, the outside of 4 would have been a first for me. I don't think I've ever seen a pass like that work.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to be stuck on the outside. I think Hamill Smith got caught on the inside of Mudrack there.
Oh, once again, he is right up on top of him, though. He's going to get a little bit of the slipstream. It's not the longest of straights, but it should be something. He's going to take a look as Hamill Smith does not defend, leaves the door open, and eventually slams it shut as he feels confident enough. Oh, was that a brush with the wall from Topi?
It is. That was a big slide out of that corner, and by catching it, he had to slide into the wall just a little bit.
Cost him some time. Ian Haycox loving all this. He's now got up to about 1.5 seconds ahead of those two.
Yeah, and it hasn't seemed to hurt Courtiniemi much. It just lost him a little bit of ground. But the good news is that he's got 11.5 minutes left still to get that back. He had the pace. He's just got to get back up there and contend with him.
Wonder where we're missing the younger of the two Haycoxes today. Is Hugh not electing to race here? The Ian returns. Believe we'll see at least one of them, if not both, and the brand new Formula V Weekend Warriors coming up just after this race. I'm excited for that. New car is, boy, excited for this battle too. Gerber still barely ahead of Campbell.
Must be such a frustrating race for Campbell. 3/4 of the way in now, and you've been right in this position all race long. Just can't seem to get by him.
Yeah, but you have to think about Gerber's head, too. Can't seem to shake him. He's been dealing with this pressure for so long with Laust Olsen. He's a lapped car. He's going to try and... yes, Laust knows the deal. He's just going to get out of the way. So we take a
good
look
opportunity here.
Oh, yeah, they're right behind Mukanos now. Is he going to try and force his way through? No. He's going to hold station. Campbell could maybe try something sneaky, but he decides not to as well.
Campbell going to try to get around him as well. He does. Oh, into the wall.
Just a little too hot. And there goes Campbell into the lead. The mistake he's been waiting the entire race. Can we get a replay on board Gerber? Very un-Gerber-like, and that gave him a lot of rear wing damage.
Yeah, and it really wasn't even because of traffic. By that point, he had the apex. He had the corner entry. This was all by himself, it looked like.
Yeah.
He had a bit of an awkward entrance, but then, I mean, it's the double apex right-hander, and he had the second one all to himself. A little bit of J.R. Hildebrandish there.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it gave him a fair bit of damage. The question is, will this hurt his pace? And if it does he have enough pace to keep ahead of Timu?
Well, let's see now, because Sean's stuck in traffic.
That's going to be hard to gauge on single laps. They've got so many cars they're having to go by. That Timo can certainly smell blood in the water now. So the 5, who himself has to wait behind Mucanos. Is he going to try and get through? Yes, now he's passed.
That's still a 6-second gap, though, for Timo, even with that damage.
I'm pretty certain that Gerber is limping. He did not get up to the same speed as Campbell there, and I'm going to watch again real quick. Campbell maxing out at about 167 miles an hour. Gerber, 152. Wow. Yeah. Straight line speed is not typically a talking point around here, but I fear that Gerber is going to suffer.
That's a significant difference. 8 minutes left, too. That's a lot of time when you put it in those terms.
Well, Toika's already here, too. You can see him in the shot.
This traffic in front of him, sure, he's stuck behind Haycox and Hamill-Smith going at it, but that's nothing. Especially when you catch him on the straightaway.
Down to 3.3 seconds. Fabian's going to have to really push hard if he wants to at least salvage a second place. Who knows if even Nick Schneider could maybe rock up behind and put him off of the podium. Well, this is a gift for Sean Campbell, no doubt, who is already up to 7 seconds ahead of Fabian and only has to cruise to the finish from here to win the first race of the season. Once again, Sean showed himself to be so fast last season that I think everybody kind of knew that he would be a super rival to go up against here in season 3 as we once again watch the fight between Ian Haycox and Hamill-Smith.
Yeah, Cortiniemi still in picture there. Don't forget about him back there in the 8 car. Because if anything happens between these top two, he's
Something
there.
happened to Trangarade. I think this just happened. What in the world? He just pulled over.
Disconnected too. So he's out.
He's got a little damage on the right front, but that doesn't look significant enough that you'd have to park it. Yeah, he's disconnected. He's done. He must have had a hardware issue or something. That's very strange and sad for him, but this is good for Ian Haycox. He's now on the podium. Even more impetus for him to fight hard with these two.
Yeah, that third step on the podium, that might add a little more incentive here to Hamill-Smith. Now it's not just the top 4 you're battling for. He is trying to get on the podium.
He's got 5 minutes to do it as they come through, and now they should certainly be aware as they officially go past Trangarade and have the spotter in their ear announce that they are in 3rd, 4th, or 5th, respectively. Ooh, I think Nick Schneider is going to be able to get by Fabian this lap. He's right behind him. Fabian tries to pull over defensively, but it's almost looking more like this is giving it up than it is a defense. As Schneider is through, oh, but he makes a little bit of contact with Solia. And the 26 gets out of the way, but not without doing some damage to the nose of Schneider.
Certainly not what he needed right there. Wow.
He's already through, and it looks like it's not hurting him enough that Gerber is going to be able to re-catch him. Fabian down to 4th, and I think that's where he'll sit because Sintez Guindo is a full half minute behind Ian Haycox in the meantime. As the Brit leads Cortiniemi and Hamill-Smith. We're on board with the 3rd in the train, the Finn.
Haven't seen too much movement out of these 3. They are stuck nose to tail, though. Cortiniemi falling back a little bit, and you saw just how close Hamill-Smith up ahead of him got to the back of Haycox, he's there. He just can't get around him again.
And this is Reuter. That's not for position with Rage. They are on different laps, but they want to try and get by. So they're, well, they're going to almost go 3 wide. A little bit of contact there with Haycox. He holds on to it. They all accordion together, and no wreck comes of it, but it was scary for all involved.
Yeah, Kortsuniemi had to get on the brakes deep and late, gave a little bit of a bump to Hamill Smith, and now Topi's going to look underneath to the inside. Can he make it stick? Not quite.
Saw an opportunity, but as much as he wanted it, it wasn't fully there. And Nick Mukanos has joined the fray as the number 7 on his recovery drive is up to 6. Could he move all the way up to a podium in just a few laps? He's going to have to really fight hard if he does.
I think he might need a little bit of attrition as well to help. That's what we've seen. Oh, Haycox really desperately trying to defend from Hamill Smith. He's trying to run away from Kortsuniemi behind him.
I don't know if these 3 in front of him start fighting. I could certainly see him getting opportunities to try and snatch up positions. He was quite a ways behind, so Mukanos made up a lot in a brief period.
Yeah, he had an issue towards the start of this race, lost him a couple spots. Kind of stalled out on his fight back. Oh, in trouble ahead of him. There's a GTP sideways.
Ooh, thankfully, he stayed put. Is that Hasada there? Yeah, that was Hasada having to take a bit of a juke around him and down into the corner. Here comes Mukanos going around the outside. Wow.
Came to throw down here in the last couple of minutes.
No intention to be denied. Will he get another good run here? Maybe down into 7? No, it doesn't look like. Let's take a look at the replay while we got a chance. Great stuff here from Nick.
Yeah, he was committed. Just driven around the outside there. Made a little bit of contact, but all clean.
Made it stick, and that's all he needed. So, up to P5. Hamill Smith about a second and a half in front of him. They are temporarily interrupted by Sintez Guindo and Hisada. Man, Togo just lost another one, actually. That's down to P6 for him.
Yeah, he must have had good hot lap pace in qualifying to get him up there. Hasn't quite been able to carry that throughout the race.
I think that was Sintez Guindo taking a lot of curve there. Coming through 13. The Japanese driver now having to brake here behind Ian Haycox, still holding on to that 3rd spot. As they're doing that, behind them, the leader getting ready to take the white flag. I don't think Campbell is going to be able to lap them. In fact, he might get close and give them a full another lap ahead of him.
That's what Nick Mukanos wants.
Certainly. As much time as possible to try and attack. He's still sandwiched between Kortsuniemi and Hamill Smith.
And he's gotten up to the back bumper of Hamill Smith a couple of times, but can't seem to pull it side by side with him.
Yeah, not quite there. And once he gets past him, I don't think, man, it's going to take a big mistake from Haycox, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So 3rd not impossible, but not looking likely. Ahead of, or behind it, actually, these 4 is Sean Campbell coming up through the final few corners. Started it on the front row. He hassled our leader until he got a mistake out of him. That's all he needed. Oh, he's got to watch out for, there was a little wreck in front of him that just disappeared in time. Not sure who that was. Sean Campbell going to win the opening round of the Kamel GT Series here on iRacing at Detroit. Leskala coming up behind him, ready to take the win in the GTOs.
Just a dominant performance from Leskala. Certainly any worries of him not being able to repeat that championship put to rest today for sure.
I'm keeping an eye on that battle behind him, but we got to watch the win here for the number 1. It's looking like yet another season to be dominated by the Finn as he takes victory here in Michigan. And a little bit farther back, Haycox is not out of the woods. Hamel Smith is still behind him. Mukanos is threatening on Jamie as well. They come into the fountain section. Very few good places to pass from here.
Right on the back of him. But what else can he do?
A missed shift could cost any one of them through here, so they have to stay diligent. Ooh, spin of the tires there from Hamel Smith. Doesn't cost him too badly. Ian Haycox from the final corner. All he has to do is accelerate cleanly. And it looks like he will. Oh, but Nick Mukanos is going to try. He looks to the inside of Hamel Smith, and it's not there. Third goes to Haycox. Fourth to Hamel Smith as he gets wrecked right at the line, and Mukanos settles for P5.
Phenomenal stuff there across the line.
That's going to be the last of them, so that means it's time for a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Detroit. We just watched round one of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and it was Sean Campbell coming in, showing that he is going to be the one to beat, at least at the first part of this season. Teemu Toika got a second place from fifth on the grid. A fantastic race from him, with Nick Schneider rounding out your podium. Unfortunately for Fabian Gerber, he led most of the race, but didn't lead the last lap. He had a little bit of contact with the wall, fell down to fourth because of that damage, had to limp it home. Eitor Sintez Ginda with another solid P5. Toga Hasada, great in qualifying, not as good in the race, started in third, finished in sixth. Martin Krejcik was P7, last one on the lead lap with Joseph Mudrak in the eighth position. Yuko Leskala was our winner in the GTOs. Phil Lake was quite a distance behind him, unfortunately, finishing in second. Then you've got Ian Haycox in third in that class, with Jamie Hamel-Smith just behind him at the line. Nick Mukanos was P4. P5 with Topi Kortuniemi in 6th, Marco Lay in 7th, and Devin Donaghy in 8th. And Hideki Koivisto, Mika Tupala, the last finishers with everybody behind, unfortunately finishing with a DNF here today. But it does take us to our second place finisher in the GTOs, Phil Lake. Phil, it looked like we're seeing deja vu all over again. Yuko just kind of able to pull away from everybody in this field in these Audis.
On raw pace, he's probably the strongest. Well, he is the strongest in the car at the moment, and that was frustrating for me because the traffic didn't kind of go my way. I had a bit of a strategy going into the race. I knew I messed my quali up. I wanted to be second and just put as much pressure on Yuko as I could. So I managed to get past Ove off at the start pretty much, first corner, and then I was trying to get within a sort of enough of a range that he has to at least pay attention to me, and couldn't quite manage that because just the move on Ove already kind of gave him a little gap, and then when the traffic came through, there was a couple of times when some Nissans made some pretty questionable decisions, and that cost me a lot of time. So it didn't quite go my way today.
Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles here in Campbell. But it looked like a number of drivers were showing some damage, both Audis and Nissans on the cars, even without hitting the wall. Were the curbs something that you kind of had to avoid here today, or a few of the curbs? Because we saw some noses kind of bent up.
Not something I'd noticed in practice. I'd been more focused on the 6 hours of the Glen, so hadn't done that much practice this week. Maybe if some of the guys are running softer setups for to handle the bumps, maybe they're having some issues with striking the ground, but I hadn't noticed anything.
Could be it. Well, speaking of the 6 hours of the Glen, how do you feel coming up to that? Do you feel pretty prepared at this stage, and what are your ambitions?
We've had a GTE team going since they must be nearly done by now, actually. And then the team I'm driving on is just started the race just before I started Kamel, so we don't actually know how we're doing yet. We're going to head over there straight after this and find out how he's getting on. But hopefully a top 10.
Best of luck on that, sir. We'll be crossing fingers for you, and hope to see you next week.
All right, thanks, Joe.
That was Phil in and around the lake, taking second in the GTOs today. Still looking for speed to try and challenge Yuko Leskala. Looks like we won't have anybody else to talk to, so of course we're going to close out with a big thank you, starting with the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that you see listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for her Bandcamp, where you can catch more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. We've got our outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store. It's simply simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment of GSRC, including Kamel next week, which goes to Daytona. Interestingly, it's going to be at the NASCAR road course. That'll be Saturday, June 26th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Up next today, as I mentioned, the Weekend Warriors Formula V Series. It will be at Laguna Seca. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.